before I go ahead and introduce myself, I'm going to briefly go over what we talked about today, and then I will introduce myself, okay? So today we're going to talk about a solution to scale your e-commerce business. About me, let me talk about myself first here. My name is Ang. I'm currently the Director of Engineering for Tiki. I joined Tiki in 2019, October 2019, so it's about 3 years now. During that time, I worked on a multiple project at Tiki. Okay, and the first project that I worked on is when I was first joined Tiki, I was head of engineering for Ticketbox. So the time that I joined, so at that time when I joined, Tiki acquired a company named Ticketbox, and that company is a ticketing service, right? And when they bought that company, the company doesn't really have an engineering team. So my job was to join on Tiki to head the engineering team, to build a new team, and lead the development of Ticketbox. So the goal of Tiki to buy Ticketbox is that we want to turn Ticketbox into a digital platform, not just ticketing platform for shows and events, but we want to achieve more than that. We want Ticketbox to be able to, selling e-vouchers, online courses. There's a whole lot of category that Tiki don't have. If you notice that on Tiki, we have a lot of products, but on our marketplace, most of our product will be physical product that you have to handle and ship. When an order is placed, you have to actually take the goods out and ship it to the user. So that is physical products, right? And there's a whole range of digital products that we don't have. And Ticketbox just happens to offer something in that range. Sorry. Okay. So that was the story of Ticketbox being acquired by Tiki, and I'm joining that team. And when I joined that team, so that was actually what I worked on, able to build a digital marketplace for Tiki based on Ticketbox. And it was the first time ever at Tiki that there was an integration that successfully actually run on the Tiki UI, like Tiki homepage. You can actually find tickets to movie, find your online courses, and you can actually pay for those products with Tiki payment. That was never happened before. So that was the first time ever that we pulled that off. And then it actually opened doors. People looking at it and say like, hey, how do you do this? Like, we've been doing integration forever, but we can't do this. So that was what started our next journey, right? So after we built that successfully, we realized that in terms of integration, there's a lot of things that Tiki has to work on, and most of the company out there will kind of experience the same pain points at Tiki in terms of integration. So that's a kind of a big issues there that need a real solution. However, we were at Ticketbox at the time, the business was just blooming, and we were too busy scaling Ticketbox. We are onboarding multiple products, and it were all successful. But then COVID-19 came, and at that time, it's almost wiped out all of our inventory, right? Ticketbox, we don't have any show, no events, no movie, no gathering. So Ticketbox is kind of like hanging in the air. There was really nothing to do. So at that time, actually, I returned to Tiki as in the role of Director of Engineering. And at that time, I was tasked, I and my team also tasked with building the social platform for Tiki. So the goal here is that we'll figure out a way to connect user, customer, and the seller. Because during the COVID-19 time, there's a lot of time that people go online, they want to connect to people, but there's no online platform for seller and buyers to actually connect and get some meaningful connection and benefit from each other. So that was the goal that was set out for Tiki, and set out by Tiki, and we went on building that, and it was successfully launched a product called Tiki Look. And it's been running for a while now. Although it doesn't achieve the effect that we wanted it to achieve, because social platform is a really hard game to actually compete for your attentions, your time on the device, because most of the people now, when they open their phone, they're probably gonna go on TikTok or Facebook. They're not gonna go to Tiki or to see their seller. It just doesn't make any sense. So it doesn't. So at this point, that project is still an on-running project, but it's not as successful. So by that time, our CEO and my managers get together and realize, hey, we still have this big problem that we haven't solved yet, the integration problem. Okay, so this now that we're gonna get into it. Okay, so integration. Everybody loved integration. Actually, no one loved integration, right? I hated it. Like no one liked integration. It's slow, it's painful, and it's a bane in my development career. I hate it. However, we have to do it. We don't have any choice. So when you get to a certain size, like Tiki, for example, you have 100, maybe 1,000 of partners literally lining up, waiting for you to, integrate with them, because it makes a lot of sense. Tiki has a large user base, and they have some products that they certainly can provide to our user, and the integration makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't work out really well for all the parties. So normally it goes like this. Business team of both sides kind of get together and have meeting. And then during multiple meetings, they decide that, hey, let's do an integration. And they happily shook hands and then hand it off to the engineer, say, hey, yeah, we all agree to do the integration. Let the engineer go do the integration. Okay, and then the engineering come back and say, hey, this is gonna take 3 months. Or, oh, we have other priority we have to work on, so this is gonna take a year. And that's the answer that nobody wanna hear. And the one that actually agree to do the integration with us, the priority alignment is still out of whack. So it is like we have to wait for them, or they have to wait for us to get to the spring that we're going to work on the thing that they need us to work on. So, and so on and so forth. So it's normally very slow and painful. And because of that process, we can't serve all of the people that lining up to integrate with Tiki. So what the solution for that? Okay. What if we can build a platform that other partners, instead of going to us to ask for integration, they can do the integration on their own time, and they can just have it run on Tiki. And the only thing that we have to do is look at what they built and approve. Like give them the approval. If we don't approve it, then they will go fix it, go back, and then come back for us for another review. Okay, go back to us for another review. So that's the idea. That's the platform that we're building, and that's called the Tini App platform. The solution here is, like I said, we as a platform gave the developer or our partners tools like IDE, like integration development environment, accounts, and then some programming language they can actually use to build their products. And normally what happens is that for our partners to go on with Tiki right now, they don't have to wait for us. They just go with the development, like business development team, sign the contract, and then go on to developer.tiki.vn, download our IDE, and they can start working on building the app right away. And once the app is built, they're gonna have a way from the IDE will let them kind of submit their app to us for review. And after a successful review and they get an approval, the app will automatically show up on Tiki platform, like Tiki App for now and Tiki Web very soon in the futures. So that's the whole idea, right? So from that point that we have this project up and running, we have successfully onboarded like 20, 30, 40 apps already, and it's just in a short time. So hopefully if this trend continue, we can onboarding so many more apps that is actually have a good use case, and from that the Tiki user can benefit from those as well. Um, okay, so that's the idea of the solution. It might sound crazy, but this is not anything new. The idea of integration like this is already in China. And in China, they call it a mini program. It is actually very successful in China. This is one of the things that, literally changed the China's e-commerce landscape. Look at here, we can have, so this is usually the UI of an e-commerce app in China, right? They have a lot of icons here, and these icons here are probably from third parties developer, and they are not built. For example, if this is, I'm not sure this is WeChat or Alipay, but if these apps are not built by their in-house engineer, to be short. So so in China, if you go there, then mostly all of your daily activity will be in some form or another will be using mini program. Well, that's their name for mini app or mini program. For example, if you go to a store and you buy a cup of coffee, there's going to be a QR code. You use your phone, you scan that QR code, and it will immediately record your loyalty points. You don't have to log in, or you can go and rent a bike. You go to the bike station, you scan the QR code, the lock's open, you take the bike, you go. It's very easy, it's very convenient, and it's part of their life. Like, people don't even know it's there now. It's very easy for them. So it's a big thing in China, and it's very successful. Monthly active user for WeChat is like 1 billion user, actually a lot more than 1 billion user recently. So we know that there's a big opportunity here, and it's a proven solution that we can see from our neighbor that it's going to be successful. However, this concept is very foreign to the rest of the world. Like Vietnam, we don't have anybody building this. In the US, I have never seen anybody building this, or any other part of the world. So only in China they do this. And it's really successful. I mean, if somebody want to ask me why it's successful, maybe later I can answer that. And then, by the way, I want to share that for this kind of presentation, it's not meant to be a one-way, knowledge transfer, like a one-way, presentation, like I talk and you listen. I'd like this to be more like a two-way discussion where you guys can ask questions, raise any concern that you might have. If you're curious about anything, feel free to interrupt me at any time and ask. I will, happily address that. Okay, so yeah, it's the PowerPoint here are not something that I prepare with my heart or anything. It's just point of discussion. So you guys looking at this, if you see something that you want to talk about, go ahead, raise your hand and talk about it. Okay. The next slide. Oops. Yes. Okay. It actually worked. Okay. So that's the solution in China. So like I said, the solution for this is really foreign to the rest of the world, and building something like a mini program is not easy. It's crazily hard. It's super hard. If you any of the engineer here, one day you want to build something like this, you can, you're going to realize how hard it is that it actually takes to build this platform. The hardship mainly come from how do you, how do you take a piece of code from the internet, load it into your current program, like native, and run it without that program affecting your own program. When it's crashed, it doesn't crash your program, and then it cannot access, other programs' data, because we want to keep all the program in a sandbox. So that's that kind of like the security things around this is really hard things to get right. Okay, so building something is hard. Well, our team will spend like 3-4 months working on the first proof of concept. Actually, when our team started on being assigned with this project, we didn't even know that we can complete it because it's something that's that hard. We take a WeChat and then Alipay program. We kind of, unpacked it, read this, the assembly source code and trying to figure out what it does. It takes like months to figure out all the secret that can make this work. So, but finally we make it. So what we're looking at right now is the Tini App platform on Tiki. This is actually on Tiki right now. And this is our app store where you can, search. Actually, it has more menu button right here, but it's not showing. But in any case, you can, find your app on here, access your recent app, for example. And this is one of the apps that built on top of our Tini App platform for ebook reading. It's Miki. Miki is kind of like an old child of Tiki. Like it's like many years ago, Tiki has a project named Miki, and it was abandoned of development. And then later, we kind of like as a proof of concept, we brought it back to life on the Tini App platform for fun. And this is kind of a game that we built in like 2-3 weeks for our seller. So seller go onto our platform, they can reach the customer, they can with some click of a button, they can create some games like this and actually distribute them to their user so they can play, and whoever wins going to get the coupon from that seller. So this is the idea. So the point here is that with Tini App platform, all of these things can happen independently of Tiki, and they can totally, like any developer can actually start up our IDE and build the integration without us getting in their way. Okay, so that's the idea of the Tiki platform at the moment. I'm gonna walk through the process of building a Tini app. So right here, it's the very high level steps, and we're gonna get to the more detailed steps a little later. The high level step is that you're gonna have to register like developer account. This is just like Apple or Android development. And you're gonna create and build your products. Actually you register your product on Tini consoles, and then you use Tini Studio, which is the IDE that I told you about, and you build your product and you upload it to Tini console again, and you submit it for review. We approve it. It's got distributed to the user, and then you run your apps. Okay, it's a very cheap way to run your apps. One thing about Tini App that I can say is that we try to make Tini App very easy to build. Our goal is to make Tini Apps so easy that a first-year student can actually go on and build a Tini App without needing a back end, a front end, a designer. Right now, if you go on Tini App, you only need like some front end skill like HTML and CSS, and then some basic knowledge about backend system, so to call APIs, and then that's it. You can already build Tini apps. And we already have a design system that if you put together your app following our design system, then it's kind of guaranteed to look better than you probably design it by yourself. Okay. So this is the high level. This is a more detailed technical flow. Is the source code. The source code here start from Tini Studio, get uploaded, compiling our servers, and submit for review, and waiting for review, and when it reviews, it's going to get released, published to our app store. So this is the development step is only on Studio, and the end user is going to interact with Tiki app. Okay, and our platform now is mostly run on mobile, but we're working on the web version right now. The web version is a bit harder to build because of the security. We'll need to have a lot of tricks there to actually make it safe for our user and our partners. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. And before I end the presentation, I want to share a little more about what our next step. Okay, so we built the platform for integration, and it's somewhat work, but still there's a lot of more for us to do to actually bring value to our sellers, our customers, and for Tiki. So in terms of a solution, Mini App program actually, like Tini App platform, actually a very it's a really great solution to scale up your business as the topic of today. In terms of scaling, I can say that after we built this platform, the ability to scale for Tiki, I can say that is probably almost unlimited. Okay, we can scale very fast, and we can offer a lot of products just by going to partners and tell them, hey, we have like 100 million users. Do you want to get your product to 100 million users? Go and build your app on Tiki. And we offer you, authentication. We offer you payment service. You don't have to talk to even payment provider. Like the work of you is minimal. So with this, I'm confident that the ability to scale for Tiki business is almost unlimited. And with that, we actually want to do one step further. Now that developer can reach user like Tiki user with the Tini app, our next step is we want to kind of package the Tini app core system into like SDK. So any of the app out there that want it to become super app, for example, they can integrate our SDKs, and they will instantly have access to all of the apps that were written on Tiki, and they can actually choose which app they allow on their platform and whatnot. And in that case, then for the user, it's very convenient for them. They can use one identity everywhere. And for the partners, for example, they build app one time and it can run on Tiki, maybe run on Momo, be it Tailpay or whatever. It's really open door for the user. It's a win for everybody. So for Tiki, what we get in return is we get more use case for our user, and hopefully more a bigger user base, and also we're getting more partnerships, and there's gonna a lot of I can say that there can be new business model based on that. Okay, so for the user, it's actually a big win for them, because now they can easily get access to a lot of services instead of have to go and download every single app and get on and maybe try them out. It doesn't work. They don't have anybody to talk to. Okay, so that's basically the idea of the presentation today. If anybody have any questions, please go ahead.
Yes, any questions online or offline are more than welcome. So if anyone on Zoom, you do have any questions or concerns you would like to ask our speaker, feel free to unmute and just raise your voice.
So before we have any new questions, actually, there's somebody here who actually asked me a question right before the presentation, and it was a really good question. So I'd like to share it with everybody, the answer to everybody. So the question was, he has been a customer, like a user of the Tini app. Like he goes on Tiki, he gets to one of the icons that I show, and he actually gets into the Tini app. And then the question is, why do this Tini app ask me to log in again? It doesn't make any sense because I'm on Tiki. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense, because if you build Tini app on Tiki and the user go onto your app, you can call Tiki platform through our, we call it JS API, so JavaScript API. You call our API, get user info, and we actually return you the user info, and you may even get some form of token that you can send to your backend and verify that with backend of Tiki to know for sure that, hey, this is the user that is logged into your app and this is their ID and such. And you can actually use it directly. You don't have to tell them to log in again. It's just bad to tell user to log in again while you don't need to. But it is still a reality on Tiki, platform, because we are new and we don't want to be too strict. We can't be the Apple. We have to be, Google. Any app can go on, and we'll fix them later. If we're too strict like right now, we don't have a lot of use case for our users. So that's why, sometimes you're gonna see some cases where the user experience is really not optimal. But we're working on it. All right, thank you.
I think we have a questions on the slide.
Okay. China, okay, let me read the question. China have more than 2 billion potential user compared to Vietnam. And how much potential user on the market in number you could estimate for the next 2 years? Actually, this is a very hard question for me to answer on the spot. But what I can say is that looking at what China did with the mini program and the success that happens, I can fairly confidently say that Vietnam can, it may be the time of the super app very soon, and we can almost replicate the same kind of success like China. The reason I say that is Vietnam, the Vietnamese and the Chinese have something very similar in terms of, internet habit, which is the most of the people in Vietnam or in China, the first time they get on the internet is not on a computer. The first time they get on the internet is on their mobile device, and that may be the only thing they know how to get on the internet. And it's not the same with the rest of the world. Like in the US, most people will know, hey, I went online when I was like 6 years old on my, PC at home. China and Vietnam, like my dad, my mom, they don't know what a PC is. They don't care what it is. They know that they can get online. They can know that they can, use app, and these are internet. This is the internet. So with that said, the demographic here is very different. Like most people will only know of mobile platforms, so they're very adapt to using it. They very happily, use a product that built on mobile, and they are very open to try like new things. I think this, from my point of view, this can be some kind of an obstacle if you go into the US market and say, hey, I'm having a super app, you don't need any other app, and you only need my app, you can do everything. People won't like it. They gonna be concerned about their security, they're gonna be concerned about their privacy, and there's they should not, they don't think it's a good idea. But in China or Vietnam, I can see that this could be a good idea. In China, for example, most people's phone will only have 1 or 2 apps, because those 2 apps are actually the super apps that can do everything they need in their daily life. They don't need any other apps. And I can even envision something like that will happen in Vietnam soon. So that's all I can say. I mean, in terms of numbers, I probably have to, go on Statistica or something and then you actually look it up. I don't have the number on top of my head. If that doesn't answer your question, please just keep, sending it here. I can, answer you later time. Okay, at the end. Okay. Did you face the issues about the traffic to the Tini app becoming so large? Oh, this is a really good question. So as you might notice that when a Tini app run on Tiki, it actually only the front end of it is actually running on Tiki, right? So it actually more like the UI of the app is running on the Tiki app or Tiki web, and it actually can access Tiki users and use Tiki payment. But other than that, Tiki doesn't offer any form of backend API to support those apps. So in that sense, if an app, if a Tini app built on Tiki happens to gather a lot of users and become like a unicorn app, for example, most of the workload will actually be handled by the backend of that app. On the Tiki side, our effort of maintaining those apps will be minimal, because we can only get like a 1,000 or 10,000 or million get requests per second on this app, but it actually just to get the bundle data, and those bundle data are static. We can easily cache them, and it's not a concern on the CDN. So for us, surfing that large amount of traffic is very easy. The most of the work and most of the work and the processing is actually happen on the partners backend. And if they get to that scale, then we kind of like hope that they can handle those kind of traffic, and they should. Okay. The next question is, how do we deal with performance issues from Tini app? This is a very tricky question. because when there is performance issues on Tini app, on your app, for example, you built an app and it works slow. It's usually it's the developer's responsibility to actually instrumenting your code, figure out where is it slow at, do some form of diagnosis to know where actually being slow. And it is, if it happens to be slow by some APIs that Tiki provide, then please raise to us. We'll make it, we'll fix that and make sure that it works for you. And usually that's how it goes, right? You debug your code, you see if where the bottleneck is, and you fix it. But on our side, we'll try our best to not be your bottleneck, because we build this to support like all of our users. So, and we don't want any if you have a bottleneck, then most of our partners will have some kind of the same issue, and we really want to have it fixed really quickly, because that will affect a lot of users. Okay, how do you handle the sandbox for each Tini app to make sure an app can access another? Oh, this is a $1 million question. It's yeah, it has a lot of trick into it, but the idea here is that you I can tell you the idea of how it works. The idea here is that we take an app, we break it down into multiple components. We have a view component and the logic component, right? The view component is running on its own like instance of either web view or some form of view that can only do the presentation or rendering. All the JavaScript call on that UI will get routed to the logical component, which is another sandbox environment that the JavaScript of your app will run in. So the view and the JavaScript part are separated. So if you try to do something malicious, the UI will not do that, okay? But it's gonna forward that JavaScript to the, let's say we're not saying a sandbox right now, but it's some form of a runtime environment for your app. So you forward that JavaScript into the runtime environment of your apps. However, that runtime environment is the one that we already modify. So before your app is opened up, we actually clear out all the global variable. We reset that runtime environment. The runtime environment is something that we provide. So it actually have no, it doesn't have any form of global variables or any form of system call or anything. We'll block all that. So every time that you want to talk to our platform, you have to go through what we call a JavaScript API. And those JavaScript APIs are what we injected into that environment at the startup. So that's the only thing you can call. And those calls that we let you call is carefully vetted, and it go through like intensive process on the back end to make sure that you don't get the data that you're not qualified to get, or you're not authorized to get. So that's basically the idea. You separate your runtime environment and Tiki runtime environment. So in that case, if your app has some issue and it crashed, it only crashed in your environment, and we can easily bring up another app to replace it, or to turn it out completely and restart or anything. We mostly can do like almost all of that. So the idea of the runtime environment should be something that is quite clear, right? I hope it's clear enough. Okay. So what technical stack is using for building the Tini app, especially on mobile side? Tini apps are working like embedded web app, HTML plus JS inside a native app. This is another fun question here, because in order to build Tini app, we have like 5-6 teams working on different things. So we have a team that work on the core Tini app, which is the native team. That team will usually have knowledge on Android and iOS, and then they will start building the first core UI for the core component for Tini app. And that core component is basically just a just a view and a runtime, so we can call it and open that up. So so for that technology is mostly native technology, but you have to know a lot about mobile devices, uh, and of course iOS, Android, and a little about operating system and networking. For the another thing that we need to run when we need to have when we have Tini App is our IDE environment. So the integrated development platform is gonna look just like a VS Code. So we download something open source that looks similar to VS Code, and we start working on it. And in order to work on that, you have the tech stack is mostly still JavaScript. And by the way, the native part it's still not JavaScript. Working on React Native. Okay. For the IDE, you have to know a lot about JavaScript, and also it's a dev tool, so you have to know a lot about debugging protocol like DevTool protocols, and you have to know about compiler. You have to know about language servers. So that's those kind of things to make sure that when user types something on the UI, on the code editors, you can suggest them, okay, what the next thing they're gonna be. So that's basically what it is. And also we have to build a simulator. So if you you put your code in, the simulator will kind of pick up that code and run on the simulator on the side of the screen. So you have to do that too. So it's mostly a lot of networking. It's the front end work, but it's actually a lot like back end, where you have a lot of components passing messages within each other's, and then actually make something happen. So that the IDE